or deeply antisocial libertarians as a culture. And the really fucked up thing is, that's not just Republicans. It's all Americans. It doesn't matter where in America you go. You can go to wealthy or poor neighborhoods, cities or rural, black, white, Asian, Latin, whatever. There are like undercurrents of selfishness in this culture that are just unlike what you would get in a comparably developed country. We're just very self-centered. No one wants to be inconvenienced by anything. I'm not saying there aren't good Americans out there. Like, interpersonally, Americans are actually really friendly. What I mean is, there's a difference between being friendly and interpersonal and being, in like a social sense, very self-centered. It's the kind of thing that means that like you can be in a town where people are chatty with each other and friendly, but the streets are filthy. Not only because people litter, but because no one wants to shell out the tax dollars to pay for cleaning services. Because their thought would be, why should I spend taxes to clean up something that I don't own? Like, I keep my house and car clean. Why would I want, why do I need to pay for that? I'm never gonna forget when I was in Barcelona and like everything was so clean. And this was Spain, by the way. My perception, my bias, my stereotyping of Spain is not that it's clean. Not to say I think it's dirty. It's just not Japan or whatever. It's not like, I don't know, Reykjavik. It's not like a town that I think of like, oh yeah, well obviously everything would be spotless. But it was pretty clean. Not spotless, but clean. And whenever I was walking around the main promenades, they had these little cleaner cars, you know? Hold on. Barcelona cleaner vans. I don't know. They're not even as large as a van. They're so cute. And literally just these guys' jobs, God bless them. They drive around in these little vans that have a little garbage truck thing in the back, and they have a water hose, like a pressure washer. And they just go beep, beep, and they drive around, and they can go anywhere because they're tiny. And they just drive around, and they clean stuff. Wait, Americans don't have this? I'm not exaggerating when I say, literally, no. In America, we have none of that. This does not exist. Our garbage trucks are massive and only make a route usually like once a week. And we have street cleaners, which run at like 3 a.m. and their only job is to make sure cars don't like run over roadkill. We do not have little cleaning cars that go around and just like clean up. Nobody in America, nobody's job is go to the part downtown that everyone likes and clean up. Isn't that insane? No one gets paid 15 bucks an hour to go like, hey, you know that part of town that the tourists go to all the time? The part that like every day 50,000 people walk by? What if you went there and cleaned it? No one does that. No one has that job. They have this in Belgium as well. I think America is unique in not having these. We have street cleaners for parking lots. That's it. Yeah, and those are paid for by the parking lot owners. That's private. The parking lots you see that on, those are private companies doing that. The streets, the civic service, I can't imagine the state spending money to make public spaces nice. Give all of the cops who stand around at the MTA turnstiles toothbrushes to have them clean the grout of the mosaics down there in the subway in New York. They'll be spotless in a week. I get mad looking at this because, like, again, this is literally like incomprehensible to the American mind, and it's not a joke. When you see people sweeping a sidewalk in America, it's a business owner stepping outside their shop and sweeping it themselves. It's not civic. Whenever you see anyone cleaning in America, it is a private company doing it to keep their business area clean. There is no civic cleaning. It doesn't exist. It's not real. Why isn't this a thing? Because nobody wants to pay taxes for it. Nobody does. Nobody does. Nobody in America. You couldn't pitch it. If you had a cleaning service in a city that received money, you could give it $5 a year and people would be like, shouldn't that go to the cops? But it would increase tourism. It doesn't matter. It's not about rationality. Don't you have park workers? Okay, I'll tell you what. Go to any park in the United States and go in the bathrooms and then ask yourself, when did someone last clean up in here? Yes, cities do. There are municipal park services and they do clean the parks. I don't think they get enough funding to do that, though. I don't think they get enough funding to do that. Yeah, if the bathrooms aren't locked to keep out the homeless. And the fucked up thing is that shit like this increases crime, too. When the city looks dirty, people will treat it like it's dirty, you know? People don't want to be the first one to mess up a clean area, but if an area is dirty, no one gives a you know? I don't litter as a rule because I think it's kind of despicable, right? Unless there's some insane extenuating circumstance or whatever. But I can tell you, if I was walking down a street in Barcelona or Tokyo, littering there would make me like, I would have like fever dreams that night of me being sent to hell for my crime. If I walked down like downtown Seattle or downtown LA and I littered, that would be like a 30-second tummy ache kind of feeling right there. Because like what I'm just adding to a pile at that point, you know? I'm rambling. Most of Europe has trash bins everywhere. Yeah, in a lot of America, we don't even have like public trash cans or restrooms. Did you know that? There are like no public restrooms in America, basically. You've got park restrooms, which are closed 80% of the time, but they're not. Oh, you didn't know that? No, public restrooms aren't a thing in America. You have to like go into a business and order a coffee or something because they won't open the bathrooms for free because then homeless people would sleep in there. Where do you throw the trash? There are trash cans in public sometimes, but only sometimes, and it really depends on the area. There are large parts of many major cities where there are basically no trash cans. Are you being ironic or not? I'm not joking, that's real. Yeah, the European mind can't comprehend. I'm slowly realizing that America was already long lost before fascism. Well, I would argue that what I'm describing is like borderline a fascistic attitude towards public service. Hyper-individualism isn't fascistic, but the pretense of hyper-individualism in a way which is like, well, social service, civic service, making other people's lives better, work on yourself. That kind of individualism does lead to a fascistic mindset. No fascist thinks they're giving themselves over to the state. Every fascist thinks they're a rugged individualist who just happens to mindlessly obey their leaders, It's like a little mind trick. The public restroom thing is real, though, by the way. Like, if you're ever out on the town and it's late enough that there are no businesses open, there is nowhere to pee. You need to go home to pee. Just shit in the floor, it can't get dirtier. True. Or you chance it with getting a public urination charge. Yep, which can get you on a sex offender registry list, which is a public list, which does not in any way reduce recidivism and is basically only done in America. Next stop, El Salvador. Let's go, baby. Wait, for pissing in public? Yeah. It's public indecency. That's you can get put on a list for like the rest of your life, basically. And then you have to go door to door whenever you move somewhere. That depends on the state, but like it's overall, yeah. It's a whole thing in America. It's like one of the things you learn in America. It's like, well, actually peeing in an alley at 2 a.m., a cop could show up and then like ruin your life forever for no reason, even though the alley floor is like 80% piss by volume at that point anyway. There's like a crusty urate dust pile at the base of the alleyway. The registry does not specify the type of crime. Yeah, it depends. My understanding is, yeah, like they just get added into it. Classic. The Nazis were literally all about the nation before the individual. Yeah. That's what they were about, but that's not how they sold it. Listen, the God's honest truth is that individualism is the most collectivist ideology out there, because the best way to maximize your chances of surviving and succeeding in life are to build into and contribute to collective systems that elevate everyone. Like the truth is, without society, everyone's just a hunter-gatherer wandering around in the woods. Everyone has basically the same ceiling to their life, which is not very far. You're limited heavily. If you really cared about like maximum personal attainment, you would want to build up systems that could increase the likelihood of you succeeding, right? You want schools so you can get educated, your kids can get educated. You want roads so you can travel freely and easily. You want, to be fair, some kind of police and legal system, even if it costs a lot of money, because you want social disincentives to crime that aren't just like exile and lynching people, right? You build into all these systems and life gets better for everyone, even though, I don't know, 20% of your paycheck gets taken. Which, by the way, your paycheck is way the higher than it would be if none of these systems existed, because you would be a hunter-gatherer in the woods. You wouldn't have a paycheck. You would be drying meat in the sun, which you can still do in real life today if you want to. And people will fantasize about doing it, but they're liars. They don't want to leave their computer. Everyone online who's like, well, why don't you go live in the woods, doesn't live in the woods because they don't want to live in the woods. They want to LARP about living in the woods. So the truth is that like phony individualism, which is about like everyone else, prioritize myself, basically guarantees for everyone, especially if everyone else buys into it, a lower standard of living. You know what I consider to be a maximization of my own individualist happiness? Living in a clean city. But because everyone in this country, doesn't believe in society. Now we all have to live in a shit city where like half of the downtown area is taken over by homeless people because none of us want to spend half of 1 percentage point of the state's collective tax revenue on housing first homelessness policies, which we all know work perfectly well. We're so consumed by selfishness that we're guaranteeing toil for everyone, especially the homeless. But I'm kind of talking about me here because I would like it if my streets were clean.